Again, Erev Shabbos Parshas Shemini. This week's Parsha we learn about a lot of things. One of the things is kosher animals, kosher fish. The identifying marks of a kosher animal are, it's not bring kaskesas, are fish. For animals, it has to be malegera or mafreses parsa. It has to have split hoofs, and it has to chew its cud. We know there are a couple of animals that have one and not the other. The pig famously has split hooves, and he shows them off, but he doesn't chew his cud. And we have the camel, chews its cud, but doesn't have split hooves. What's pshat? Why are these the simanim? Rav Ner Horlebek told us once that chewing the cud is a sign of a creature which is okay with less. He can live off of the little food he eats. He eats it a lot. Being low maintenance. And the Mafresas Parsa, the split hooves, if it's not a solid foot, when it steps on things, it's a softer stomp. It's less aggressive. These are two midas. The midah of being satiated on a smaller amount and not being as aggressive, as overbearing. These are the midas that we want to imbibe, and you are what you eat, including the midas of the creatures that you eat. Meir Pramishlan tells us something fascinating. He says, another reason why, what's pshat in these simonim specifically, and he tells us that geira is, besides for meaning chewing its cud, geira is an old word for a type of a coin. A geira is a certain coin in ancient days. My friend says parsa. Parsa is also a lashon of lechem, of bread. Pas. Or what do you do with that? It says like this. Malegera is, how are we with our tzedakah? Geira is referring to coins. It's referring to money. What we do with our money is the tzedakah that we give. Afrasas parsa is what do we do with the bread that we offer to our guests? How do we invite people into our home? How do we give tzedakah? Do we give it in a kosher way? Or do we give it in maybe a non-kosher way? We should invite our guests in a way that makes them feel comfortable. We should be oimed aleihem, like Avram Avinu. When we give tzedakah, we should do it in the highest level, in a way that they don't know, in a way that makes them comfortable, offering a job, arranging a job. That's the hidden meaning of Meir Parmesan says of our Festus Parsa and Malagera. When it comes to inviting people over, we just had the Seder night. There was a yid who gets a call. He's doing kiruv in the middle of nowhere. He gets a call from a friend and says, I have a buddy who needs a place to stay for Yom Tif. Can he come to you for Pesach? And he says, sure, that's what we're here for. Erev Yom Tif, a motorcycle pulls up, and this gentleman who's been on the road for weeks comes in, and he doesn't exactly smell like a budding violet. So he welcomes him in, shows him to his room, and the rabbi tells him, here's a towel, go freshen up, get ready for Yom Tif. So he goes, he takes a shower, comes out smelling nice, and the rabbi goes off to Mariv to daven before the Seder. He comes home and his wife is standing on the porch. That's always a good sign. So he says, honey, what's going on? She says, this guy, he can't stay in the house. I just don't feel safe with him here. The rabbi says, what do you mean? She says, I'm not exaggerating. He unloaded his backpack and there's a table covered in drugs. This guy, he can't stay here. The rabbi said, what, we're going to kick him out? Night of the Seder, called She says, what are we going to do? He says, I'll tell you what. You don't feel comfortable. What can I do to make you feel comfortable having this guy over? And she says, if you stay up the entire night and keep an eye on him, we have a deal. He can stay. He says, sure, it's the night of the Seder. I'll stay up anyways. Happy, they both go inside. Good Yom Tov to everybody. He pulls over his friend and he says, do me a taiva. We spent weeks and weeks preparing our house to make sure that there's not a speck of chametz in our house. Now, I'm sure you also are careful not to bring any bread or anything like that into our house, but I don't know what your dealers are dealing with. I don't know what kalim they use to cut your meth. I don't know if, your cocaine is, maybe it's flour. I don't know. Do me a favor. All these foreign substances, would make me feel much more comfortable if you could just lock it in your motorcycle over the Chag, over Yom Tov. The guy said, Rabbi, yeah, sure, of course. He was very respectful. He's like, there's just the things that, they keep me calm. It's like, okay, you'll have a calm motorcycle or something. The Chag. And the guy was very respectful. He left it outside. And then they sat down for the Seder, and it was beautiful, and the guy was firing questions at the rabbi the whole night, and he was engaged, and the whole family got involved, and he turned out to be a wonderful guest. The next day, the guy slept in the whole day, because they were up all night, schmoozing, talking about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Next day, at like 5:30 in the afternoon, he wakes up and says, Rabbi, now what? He says, now what? You remember what happened last night? We're doing it again. And had a second Seder. It was amazing. It was amazing. Matzah Yom Tif, the guy says, Rabbi, I had a time in my life. I'm telling you, an experience like never before. I appreciate it so much. All the best. Hops on his bike, and he fades off into the sunset. 10 years later, this rabbi is walking in Eretz Yisrael, and he stops him on the street and says, Rabbi, how you doing? He says, fantastic. How you doing? Who are you? He says, you don't recognize me? He says, how am I supposed to recognize you? Who are you? He says, I'm that guy from the motorcycle. He says, how am I supposed to recognize you? Look at you. You have a payas and a beard, a bekasha. He says, yeah. He said, actually, I'm a sefer. He says, are you kidding me? You're writing Sifrei Torah. He's writing Mezuzos, Tefillin. He says, what happened? He says, what happened was everything you saw. I went to your Seder. It was amazing. I never had a spiritual experience like that, and I wanted to keep it going. So I came to Israel. I became from. How do we treat our guests? He could have sent him home. That'd be an acceptable thing to do. Say, like, you don't bring drugs into my house. He went above and beyond. And look at the schar that he got. There's a sefer walking around Eretz Yisrael with an entire Erlicha family because of him. We be zeichet to see the best in each other in Klal Yisrael and stand in front of the Rabbeinu Shalom as he presents to us Mashiach Tzidkenu B'Meir V'Yameinu. Amen.